I gotta tell y'all, all these bus riders, they don't mean nothing to me. All these guys walk around with these championship rings. Hey, y'all bus riders. But let me tell you
two in
something.
a row, Chuck.
When you the bus driver and you got all that pressure where you have to play well or you're gonna get the blame, that's a different animal.
Coach, Kevin Durant's not on the bus. He's just not on the bus.
Yeah, no, but
he's never on the bus.
What has happened when he was driving the bus?
Well, he's never just.
No, what was happening when he was driving the bus?
He lost to the finals.
Yeah, okay, he did. And then when he was in Oklahoma City again.
But he was driving. You don't think he was the bus driver in Golden State?
No, I do not.
You don't think he was the best player on that team?
No, I do not.
So we all know that Durant loves. Where would Chuck be without the big homies with picks of Barkley throughout the years alongside Hall of Famers like Dr. J, Moses Malone from his early years, as well as Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, and Scottie Pippen late in his career. So first, how do you guys feel about what Barkley said about Durant? Stephen, I'll go first to you.
Well, first of all, listen, I don't think that Kevin Durant is a bus rider. Kevin Durant is a superstar in this game. He had a bad series. We understand that. But he's a two-time champion, a two-time NBA Finals MVP. And where I completely contradict Charles Barkley is that Kevin Durant was the best player on the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry was a superstar, no doubt about it, and Klay Thompson and the Splash Brothers, the greatest shooting backcourt in history. And obviously he went to them. But no one would doubt that Kevin Durant was the best player on the Golden State Warriors. As great as Steph Curry is, Kevin Durant was the best player on the Golden State Warriors. And anybody who knows basketball outside of Charles Barkley knows that. That's number one. Number two, however, is that KD clapping back, I thought his clap back was inaccurate. Because if you're going to post a picture of Charles Barkley in Houston with Hakeem Olajuwon and Scottie Pippen, well, who was the face of that franchise? It was Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. It was not Barkley. Yeah, Barkley went there with expectations and what have you, but that was after he was in Philly and after he was in Phoenix. The reality of the situation is that Houston was never Charles Barkley's franchise. It was Hakeem Olajuwon's franchise. In the case of the Brooklyn Nets, this is KD's franchise. And even though I disagree with Barkley because I think it's a bit harsh to call him a bus rider, I understand theoretically where he's coming from. What he's saying is that you're supposed to be the leader, but everybody looks at you being deferential to Kyrie Irving. And that is not a person who should be followed. Kyrie should be following you. So I don't agree with Charles Barkley literally because I thought it was a bit too harsh to classify KD in that manner. But from a theoretical perspective, I understand what he was saying. You're supposed to be the leader, but there's too much following that you engaged in because of Kyrie Irving. And that is something that Kevin Durant is going to have to live with, which is why I said months ago, regardless of the fact that I feel otherwise, and a lot of people will feel otherwise, there's also a lot of people that are going to remember KD most for being the guy that left Steph Curry to join Kyrie Irving. Then they even remember him for the championships he's won, because that's how much of a detrimental effect Kyrie Irving has had on Kevin Durant and his career in Brooklyn.
I agree with him on some, and of course I disagree with him on others. First off, Durant got it wrong. It wasn't going to Houston that Barkley jumped the ship. It was when he wanted out of Philadelphia because he couldn't beat Jordan in the playoffs. And so he said, get me out of here. And he ended up going to Phoenix in that Hornacek trade. And as it turns out, the one great chance he had to win a championship, he lost to Jordan anyway.
Was in the way.
Yeah, so from that standpoint, I blame Barkley for bailing out of Philly more so than I blame him bailing out of Phoenix. And Durant's, Instagram thing had him with the Houston players. He was older then in his career. He had played a long time. I can give him a break.
You remember that, Doggy? You remember that? Way to go, Doggy. Way to go.
Come on. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm not stupid. Like you. I know what I'm talking about. All right, that's the first thing. Second thing, why is Durant even discussing this? This is what he's worried about? I mean, he had a major issue with Rappaport there. Remember, he got a big issue with Rappaport. He's fighting left and right. He gets all upset about that. He's a big sports fan, Durant.
Michael Rappaport.
So he's a big sports fan. So he gets all wrapped up in what everybody says. And I love Durant. Steven knows that. I'm a big Durant fan. He's one of my favorites. I love the guy. But I mean, why is he worrying about what Barkley was? He running home to TNT to see the post game of what Barkley, Kenny, and Shaq say?
What was he
should be
supposed
looking
to
at game
do?
film.
That's where the games are. He's watching the
Why is he
game.
watching a game after he lost game 4 and got swept? He should be freaking
What?
in
So
his
he
room with the
can't watch
lights out.
basketball now?
He should be in his room with the lights out, basically upset. He should be watching TV. Anyway,
He should be
I
watching
don't
TV.
understand. Why is he wrapped up in what Barkley says? I have no reason for that. I don't get it. Why are you even worried about it? You just got swept. That's the last thing you should worry about is Charles Barkley. But you're right on one thing. You're right on one thing. His issue is he's got to basically take over the team. Durant is a follower. Durant doesn't want to lead. I mean, he's the best player. You're right. Best player in the Warriors, too. He should tell Kyrie, hold on now.